This video discusses why American football star Tom Brady's case shows that German masqueraders all over the world must be exterminated if a country is to have some peace. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. Tom Brady at age 45 is probably the greatest quarterback of all time in the National Football League of American football and is still playing. If he remains healthy, in my opinion, he could play till age 50. Brady holds nearly every NFL record for quarterbacks, including 10 appearances in Super Bowls with 7 wins, games started, passing yards, completions, and touchdown passes. He has never had a losing season. He also has the most Super Bowl Most Valuable Player awards. After playing 20 seasons for the New England Patriots, he joined the Tampa Bay, Florida Buccaneers or the Bucs for the 2022 to 2021 season, the city in which I live, and won the Super Bowl. He had signed a 2-year contract with the team. There were rumors that he might leave the Bucs and the possibility that he might leave the Bucs and the possibility of us joining the Miami Dolphins or even the Las Vegas Raiders. He also announced his retirement after the 2021 to 2022 season, but was back with the Bucs after 6 weeks and has now started the 2022 to 2023 season with the Bucs. However, it was reported in the media that the news was not good at the home front with Tom Brady. His wife Giselle reportedly was not happy with his decision to continue playing football. Then he took a 11-day hiatus from the team after practice for the season had started. The media then reported that this was due to a promise he made to his wife that they would spend some quality family time together, which they apparently did at a private resort in the Bahamas. Coach Todd Bowles of the Bucs stated in an interview that this time off was discussed and planned with the coaching staff. What is being reported in the media is not the true story. Here is the true story. I've explained many times in the past that I have been discriminated against by the German masqueraders in the United States and their Indian allies because I was originally a Sikh from India who fought the Germans during both world wars as part of the British Indian Army. They have prevented me from making a decent living throughout my professional life, directly interfered in my software business to destroy it, and given the idea to the Indian allies who have set up information technology services companies which have grown into multinational corporations such as Tata Consultancy Services, Infosys, and Wipro, each worth tens of billions of dollars. Unprecedented discrimination against me became known to the US government around 1999 to 2000. Then, around 2001, the Germans decided to buy up the best US corporations to control them and benefit from their earnings. German masqueraders in America were asked to sell off all their stock holdings in these corporations, which they did. Germans then bought controlling interests in the most profitable corporations. The US government simply impounded the stock the Germans held in these corporations. Hopefully, someday I will be fully compensated personally for the discrimination against me from these assets. In the meantime, all these investments are being professionally managed on my behalf. Now, since I live in India, in Tampa, Florida, I had expressed a desire to continue living in the city. Therefore, some funds were diverted to invest in real estate and other ventures in Tampa. Part of the investments were made in Tampa sports franchises, the Tampa Bay Bucks being one of them. The Germans over the years have realized that they are not going to get their investments back. Because these investments are being held for my benefits, for the past few years they've engaged in destroying the value of all these investments. For example, I explained in my video of February 8, 2021 titled the truth about retail traders taking on hedge funds by trading in GameStop stock, that they orchestrated the loss of $5 billion to Melvin Capital, a hedge fund managed by people managing these investments, by enlisting the help of small individual or retail traders in manipulating the stock in GameStop. Some of other investments are in real estate. The Masqueraders have orchestrated a campaign to force people to move out of Tampa, Florida, with threats so that the value of the real estate will go down. They have also been trying to have Tampa Bay's largest companies acquired by out of state corporations so that their operations in the state can be closed and people forced to move out of the area. That will also lower real estate values. In the same way, they are engaged in bringing down the value of the Tampa Bay Bucks. Since Tom Brady joined the Bucks, they have won a Super Bowl in the 2020-2021 season and had a very good 2021-2022 winning season. The value of the franchise has gone up. The team's success has also pumped a great deal of money into the Tampa Bay economy. That goes against the Masqueraders' goals. That is what has got Tom Brady into trouble. German Masqueraders have been trying to force Tom Brady with dire threats to leave the Tampa Bay Bucks by either retiring or joining another team. Their threats can be very effective when your safety or the safety of your family is involved. Threats are delivered with graphic details of how the person or the family members will be tortured or subjected to pain and suffering. That is the challenge Tom Brady is facing. So that there are also threats of death. There is no family quarrel with his wife. Masqueraders are masters of propaganda and forcing people to do things against their will and against their own best interests, but then offering fake causes for their actions. Before Tom Brady, the Bucks had a very good quarterback in Jameis Winston. He too was forced to throw away many games with dire threats and ultimately had to be traded away. I believe the future Hall of Famer, the Bucks tight end Rob Gronkowski, known as Gronk, has also been forced to retire with threats. Tom Brady and Gronk playing together have been a force to reckon with in the NFL throughout their careers, first with the New England Patriots and then with the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Masqueraders have been controlling the country since the early 1960s and the lives of most people with threats. They've also carried out their threats in some cases, warning by murdering people who did not obey their orders. Murders of President Kennedy, Elvis Presley, and Marilyn Monroe are examples. Tom Brady is showing extraordinary courage by disregarding their threats and trying to accomplish his goals. I am praying for his safety and the safety of his family. But here is how such things are played out in the past. Congressman Elijah Cummings was a murderer who was rewarded by the Masqueraders with success in his political career. During Congress hearings in 2019 regarding the immigrant border crisis, Cummings treated Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Kevin McAleenan with uncommon vehemence over conditions in migrant camps and shouted him down several times. Elijah Cummings and his kind needed to be taught a lesson. Therefore, he was put to death for the murder he had already committed decades ago. In retaliation, German Masqueraders then murdered basketball star Kobe Bryant along with his daughter Gianna and 7 others in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California in 2020. Completely innocent, Kobe Bryant did not owe his success in the Basketball Association to the Masqueraders sport as he refused to commit murder that they required him to do. That's why he was targeted for killing. Shaquille O'Neal and LeBron James are among other players who did not give in to the Masqueraders' threats. Retaliation for the murder of Kobe Bryant from the other side was swift. Within days, 12 people were thrown out of windows of multi-story buildings or hotels or killed in other ways. Most of the victims were white, some worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That sent a strong message to the Masqueraders about murdering innocent people. As I regularly report, many celebrities among masqueraders and their allies are being regularly executed. There is no retaliation. The reason is that all those being put to death are murderers. They are simply being brought to justice. If masqueraders put an innocent person to death, retaliation is swift. The murderer is immediately brought to justice. Any killing of an innocent celebrity will invite massive retaliation with the killing of a masquerader celebrity or more, besides putting the masquerader to death. If Tom Brady or his family is harmed in any way, I am quite certain some of the top masquerader leadership in the United States and their families will be executed immediately. Such is the horrible environment masqueraders have created in the United States. They were able to clandestinely murder 9 to 10 million people either medically or by burning them alive in electric crematoriums. But that stopped since their horrible evil became known around 2000 to 2001. However, because they still continue to commit some murders, though not on a mass scale, it should be clear to everyone in the world that it is impossible to live with them. That's why I have never wavered in my judgment against them in every country in the world where they are present, that they should be exterminated, man, woman, and child. Why murder children? Because they have taught their children that if they hear voices that tell them to do something, they must do it and consider it a great honor, because their God Satan is communicating his will to them directly. That is why even children, when they grow up, will pose the same threat to peace. What masqueraders have done in America, they have done throughout the world where they live, primarily in white countries. They have also been responsible for spreading hate among peoples throughout the world by making alliances with some to victimize others. I became their victim in India and after that in the United States when I came here. There can simply be no peace even if one German masquerader lives near you. Churchill assessed their character very well when he said, "A Hun alive is a war in prospect." That is what Tom Brady is facing from German masqueraders. He is showing extraordinary courage by not succumbing to their threats. I am praying for him as of many others. The whole evil enterprise is not managed by masqueraders alone any longer. Indians in America have also got involved at the highest level in the past few years, as they are now a very important ally of the Germans and masqueraders because they run the top technology and other companies in America and other countries. The evil enterprise of dealing with Indians who have refused to be allied with German masqueraders and causing them as much pain and suffering as possible is now entirely in the control of Indians, mostly South Indians, but also Gujaratis, Rajputs, Baniyas, Bengalis, and Pathans. The enterprise to deal with me, making attempts on my life, and constantly trouble me as much as possible, is handled entirely by these Indians. Here is the story of how that came about. These Indian groups have been German allies, some of them soon after World War II, when German businesses implemented their plan of export led economic growth for Germany and all the others since the late 1950s. The Germans have taught these people many of their tricks to deceive and trouble their enemies. For example, they have taught them to go in front of the camera and just nod their head as if agreeing to something. Those watching will nearly always interpret it as if they are your ally and are in your favor, even though they may be planning your destruction and taking steps to carry it out. Here is a real life example of that. I have exposed the fact that for decades the Germans have been pushing Germans with black or very dark hair out of their country, encouraging them to migrate and marry someone with blonde hair and blue eyes. That accomplishes many purposes. They get rid of the people with dark hair out of Germany. They darken other people by marrying their whitest looking persons. These Germans then make their children devil worshippers who become staunch German allies to do their bidding, even to the extent of sacrificing themselves for Germany's cause, as the German masquerader Zelensky is doing in Ukraine. Such children also then cause divisions and spread hatred and try to take over the country, posing an existential threat to the native population. When I exposed these actions of the Germans, they needed to counter this revelation. They chose Annalena Baerbock, a woman with very dark hair, as their foreign minister to become a poster child to show the world that they still have people with dark hair in Germany and that my accusation is baseless. She also went in front of the cameras and did the typical nod, and that shot was shown around the world. Based on her nodding, the Germans with dark hair who have been pushed out of the country will then get rid of their suspicions that they were pushed out of Germany and will remain loyal to Germany. The second trick that they use is to have two people do exactly the opposite things simultaneously when confronted with some negative consequences of their actions. This sends a message to their loyal followers to stand firm with them as they will deal with their enemies. It sends a conciliatory message to their enemies to spare them. The best example of this is their reaction, to my opinion, that nations that punish the Germans. Now, Bible prophecies indicate that God will use an Eastern alliance known as the Kings of the East to severely punish German-led Europe in the near future. That nations that punish the Germans should not spare the women, as they are equally children of the devil and will destroy you if you marry them or spare them. In reaction to this, then Chancellor Angela Merkel was retiring. In a TV shoot at the cabinet, Anna Baerbock showed the defiant attitude, as if to say, "We don't care two hoots about your opinion." Angela Merkel, on the other hand, acted in a conciliatory manner, as if to say that women don't mean harm and at least German women and children should be spared. I have witnessed this practice many times, with one spouse acting defiantly, whereas the other spouse will act in the friendliest manner as an individual. Another variant of this, for an individual to look at it into the camera and act submissive, as if to show that he has no hostile feelings towards some particular person or a group, to send a conciliatory message. In reality, such a person will not hesitate one bit to murder the individual uh, who are trying to deceive, who you are trying to deceive and ask to do so, and given the means to do so. I've seen this happen many times. I am not deceived about such persons' true intentions. Another trick they have learned to deceive people is to show an expression of utter shock and disbelief when rightly accused of some evil they have committed, as if doing such a thing is beyond them and unthinkable. Another German method to cause deep anguish to people is to yank their face away from them when they look at them. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier was famous for pulling that one on world leaders, but he was forced to give that up when his other leaders began to treat him in kind. I've said many times that the Germans believe they are a special creation because they only have the divine spark in them and have an immortal soul. The rest of humanity does not have an immortal soul. They are like cats and dogs or cattle, created for the sole purpose of serving the Germans. Therefore, the Germans are used to ordering people around. That was their relationship with the Indians. But Indians, particularly South Indians, are CEOs of the best high-tech corporations in the world and are in a position to affect the outcome of a war. German masqueraders who have put them in such positions were used to ordering them and prohibited them from showing any allegiance to the non-German side in order to deceive them. When these Indians tried to feign friendship with other people, it did not sell well with the Germans. The South Indians forcefully objected to this treatment and told the German masqueraders that if they, that is the masqueraders, can use deceptive tricks to deceive their enemies, To protect themselves in case things don't go as planned, South Indians and other Indian allies of the Germans should be able to use them as well. The Germans had to concede to the Indian allies on this point. Thus, by forcefully standing up to German masqueraders, they have become full partners in the evil German enterprises. These Indian allies were then given full responsibility in dealing with Indians not allied with the Germans, particularly Sikhs. That's how Indian allies of the Germans have been totally responsible for making attempts on my life and making my life as miserable as possible for the past few years. These Indians are gaining much greater and more immersive experience in German methods. These Indians have orchestrated events to have me blown up many times, with people who feign to be friendly with me wearing explosives on their bodies to act as suicide bombers. Their allies readily agree to do their bidding. Where that is not possible, they use threats. They are engaged in having nearly all my food contaminated or adulterated with a lot of glue and other harmful products so that it is extremely painful for me to digest. I am in constant pain virtually every day. I am overcharged on all my bills, but so that I am constantly fighting with companies to have the bill corrected. It keeps me always under tension and causes financial distress. They have mucked up my credit as a result. When I buy an item at a store or at Amazon, many times I'm not charged the displayed price. I have to constantly keep fighting to get the correct price, or to avoid wasting time, I end up paying higher. My dentist has filed my teeth or ground them down when I went for some dental procedure and ended up paying about $3,500. I've had to stop seeing my doctor because I'm afraid that some serious harm will be done to me. All this pain, suffering, and anguish is orchestrated by Indians, which before was inflicted by German masqueraders. They do not pass up any opportunity to do so and are constantly inventing new methods. That's how Indians are learning more of the German evil methods to trouble and kill people. I hope this explains why the Indians are entirely in charge of handling the attempts to force Tom Brady to leave the Bucs and retire from the NFL. It accomplishes their goal of hurting me as much as possible. So here is my warning to Indians and German masqueraders. If you make any attempts to harm Tom Brady or any of his family members, we will retaliate massively. Expect some of your CEOs and other family members to be put to death. In addition to South Indians, expect some prominent Gujaratis, Rajputs, and Banias to be executed. All the Indian CEOs have come to the United States because they murdered a white American, Briton, or Sikh. Therefore, their execution will merely be rendering justice for the murders they already committed. But the community will also be held responsible. Some of their prominent innocent people will also be put to death to send a strong message. I hope this sheds some light on what Tom Brady is facing and explains some of his actions. I hope Gronk decides to play for the Bucs if he wants to by following Brady's example. However, for the position he plays, he might decide to permanently retire to avoid any debilitating injury. This situation between the masqueraders and their allies and other Americans cannot go on for too long. It will end in a deadly civil war, the outcome of which only God knows. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos and read my articles on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini to view and get information on the latest videos. Some people do not have the strength to go the full length of the videos. They find it more convenient to read the text of the video. Unfortunately, YouTube does not provide the capability to make the text of my videos available in YouTube. But fortunately, Facebook does provide that capability. So I make the text of my videos available on my Facebook channel, which you can easily copy.